John Dowd was convinced that President Trump would commit perjury if he talked to special counsel Robert S. Mueller III. So, on January 27, the president's then personal attorney staged a practice session to try to make his point. In the White House residence, Dowd peppered Trump with questions about "This thing's a goddamn hoax." Trump erupted at the start of a 30-minute rant that finished with him saying, "I don't really want to testify." The dramatic and previously untold scene is recounted in Fear, a forthcoming book by Bob Woodward that paints a harrowing. Woodward writes that his book is drawn from hundreds of hours of interviews with first-hand participants and witnesses that were conducted on deep background, meaning the information could be used, but he would not reveal who provided it. Woodward depicts Trump's anger and paranoia about the Russia inquiry as unrelenting, at times paralyzing the West Wing for entire days. Learning of the appointment of Mueller in May 2017, Trump groused, "Everybody's trying to get me." The 448-page book was obtained by The Washington Post. Woodward, an associate editor at the Post, sat in interview with Trump through several intermediaries to no avail. The president called Woodward in early August, after the manuscript had been completed, to say he wanted to participate. The president complained that it would be a central theme of the book is the stealthy machinations used by those in Trump's inner sanctum to try to control his impulses and prevent disasters, both for the president personally and for the nation he was elected to lead. Woodward describes an administrative coup d'etat and a nervous breakdown of the executive branch. Again and again, Woodward recounts at length how Trump's national security team was shaken by his lack of curiosity and knowledge about world affairs and his contempt. At a National Security Council meeting on January 19, Trump disregarded the significance of the massive U.S. military presence on the Korean Peninsula, including a special intelligence operation that allows the United States to detect a North Korean missile launch in 7 seconds versus "We're doing this in order to prevent World War III," Defense Secretary Jim Mattis told him. After Trump left the meeting, Woodward recounts, Mattis was particularly exasperated and alarmed, telling close associates. In Woodward's telling, many top advisors were repeatedly unnerved by Trump's actions and expressed dim views of him. Secretaries of Defense don't always get to choose the president they work for, Mattis told friends at one point, prompting laughter as inside the White House, Woodward portrays an unsteady executive detached from the conventions of governing and prone to snapping at high-ranking staff members. White House Chief of Staff John F. Kelly frequently lost his temper and told colleagues that he thought the president was unhinged, Woodward writes. In one small group meeting, Kelly said of Trump, "He's an idiot. It's pointless to try to convince him of anything. He's Reince Priebus, Kelly's predecessor, fretted that he could do little to constrain Trump from sparking chaos." Woodward writes that Priebus dubbed the presidential bedroom, where Trump obsessively watched cable news and tweeted, "the devil's workshop," and said Trump apparently had little regard for Priebus. He once instructed then-Staff Secretary Rob Porter to ignore Priebus, even though Porter reported to the Chief of Staff. Few in Trump's orbit were protected from the president's insults. He often mocked former National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster behind his back, puffing up his chest and exaggerating his breathing as he impersonated the retired army. Trump told Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, a wealthy investor 8 years his senior, "I don't trust you. I don't want you." A near-constant subject of withering presidential attacks was Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Trump told Porter that Sessions was a traitor for recusing himself from overseeing the Russia investigation. Woodward writes, mocking Sessions' accent, Trump added, "This guy." At a dinner with Mattis and Joseph F. Dunford Jr., the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, among others, Trump lashed out at a vocal critic, Senator John McCain, of Arizona. He falsely suggested that the former Navy pilot had been a coward for. Mattis swiftly corrected his boss, "No, Mr. President, I think you've got it reversed." The defense secretary explained that McCain, who died August 25, had in fact turned down her. "Oh, okay," Trump replied, according to Woodward's account. With Trump's rage and defiance impossible to contain, cabinet members and other senior officials learned to act discreetly. Woodward describes an alliance among Trump's traditionalists, including, "It felt like we were walking along the edge of the cliff perpetually," Porter is quoted as saying. Other times, After Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad launched a chemical attack on civilians in April 2017, Trump called Mattis and said he wanted to assassinate the dictator. "Let's fucking kill him." Mattis told the president that he would get right on it. But after hanging up the phone, he told a senior aide, "We're not going to do any of that. We're going to be much more measured." The national Cohn, a Wall Street veteran, tried to tamp down Trump's strident nationalism regarding trade. According to Woodward, Cohn stole a letter off Trump's desk that the president was intending to sign to formally withdraw the United States from a trade agreement with South Korea. Cohn later told in a Cohn made a similar play to prevent Trump from pulling the United States out of the North American Free Trade Agreement, something the president has long threatened to do. In spring 2017, Trump was eager to withdraw from NAFTA and told Porter, "Why aren't we getting?" Under orders from the president, Porter drafted a notification letter withdrawing from NAFTA. But he and other advisors worried that it could trigger an economic and foreign relations crisis. So Porter consulted Cohn. Despite repeated threats by Trump, the United States has remained in both pacts. The administration continues to negotiate new terms with South Korea as Cohn came to regard the president as a professional liar and threatened to resign in August 2017 over Trump's handling of a deadly white supremacist rally in Charlottesville. Cohn, who is Jewish, Trump was sharply criticized for initially saying that both sides were to blame. At the urging of advisors, he then condemned white supremacists and neo-Nazis, but almost immediately told aides that was the biggest. When Cohn met with Trump to deliver his resignation letter after Charlottesville, the president told him, "This is treason," and persuaded his economic advisor to stay on. Kelly then confided to Cohn that "I would have taken that resignation letter and shoved it up his ass 6 different times," Kelly told Cohn, according to Woodward. Kelly himself. Woodward illustrates how the dread in Trump's orbit became all-encompassing over the course of Trump's first year in office, leaving some staff members and cabinet members confounded by the president's lack of understanding about how. At one point, Porter, who departed in February amid domestic abuse allegations, is quoted as saying, "This was no longer a presidency." Such moments of panic are a routine feature, but not the thrust of Woodward's book, which mostly focuses on substantive decisions and internal disagreements, including tensions with. Woodward recounts repeated episodes of anxiety inside the government over Trump's handling of the North Korean nuclear threat. 1 month into his presidency, Trump asked Dunford for a plan for a. In the fall of 2017, as Trump intensified a war of words with Kim Jong-un, nicknaming North Korea's dictator Little Rocket Man in a speech at the United Nations, aides worried the president might be provoking Kim. But, Woodward writes, Trump told Porter that he saw the book also details Trump's impatience with the war in Afghanistan, which had become America's longest conflict. At a July 2017 National Security Council meeting, Trump dressed down. "The soldiers on the ground could run things much better than you," Trump told them. "They could do a much better job. I don't know what the hell we're doing." He went on to ask. The president's family members, while sometimes touted as his key advisors by other Trump chroniclers, are minor players in Woodward's account. Woodward recounts an expletive-laden altercation between Ivanka Trump, the president's eldest daughter and senior advisor, and Stephen. "You're a goddamn staffer," Bannon screamed at her, telling her that she had to work through privacy like other aides. "You walk around this place Ivanka Trump, who had special access to the president and worked around privacy, replied, "I'm not a staffer. I'll never be a staffer. I'm the first daughter." Such tensions boiled among many of Trump's core advisors. When you put a snake and a rat, and a falcon and a rabbit, and a shark and a seal in a zoo without walls, things hovering over the White House was Mueller's inquiry, which deeply embarrassed the president. Woodward describes Trump calling his Egyptian counterpart to secure the release of an imprisoned charity worker and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi saying, "Donald, I'm worried about this investigation. Are you going to be around?" Trump relayed the conversation to Dowd. The book vividly recounts the ongoing debate between Trump and his lawyers about whether the president would sit for an interview with Mueller. On March 5, Dowd and Trump attorney Jay Sekulow met in Mueller's office. Dowd then explained to Mueller and Corliss why he was trying to keep the president from testifying. "I'm not going to sit there and let him look like an idiot. And you publish the transcript because everything leaks in Washington and the guys overseas are going to say, 'I told you he was an idiot. I told you.'" Later that month, Dowd told Trump, "Don't testify. It's either that or an orange jumpsuit." But Trump, concerned about the optics of a president refusing to testify, "I'll be a real good witness," Trump told Dowd, according to Woodward. "You are not a good witness," Dowd replied. "Mr. President, I'm afraid I just can't help you.